I spoke to a source this morning that told me two things. One, there's another name, quote unquote, in play for the Pittsburgh Steelers at wide receiver. And two, when it comes to Brandon Aiyuk, there is a situation, and where that situation currently stands is the reason that, well, the Pittsburgh Steelers have not made a move for the San Francisco 49ers wide receiver, or why things have not developed to the point of where they are. The Pittsburgh Steelers have a trade offer in place. From what I have been told, from what everybody is reporting, the Pittsburgh Steelers have a trade offer on the table. It is a quote-unquote strong trade offer for the 49ers that they feel good about. The reason they are not budging, and everybody keeps tossing it out there, hey, toss this player out there. Hey, just juice up the deal. If they're asking for a second-round pick, you give them a second-round pick. Who cares? That's what you do. The reason they have not budged from where they stand is simply because they do not feel that anything further than where they are is as good as or matches the risk reward that comes with Brandon Aiyuk. And the reason that I say that, and I'm not trying to stir the pot, and I do not worry about this stuff until I need to worry about this stuff, and the Steelers should not should do the same. There are a number of guys who have been traded over the last year. I mean, highlighted right now by Hassan Reddick, and I mean, Stephon Diggs the other night in Houston did not do himself any favors with the fan base. The Pittsburgh Steelers are only going to give up so much for a player that comes with a little bit of worry. And anything past that, they're not willing to give up. Now, what the Pittsburgh Steelers have offered does not seem to match what the San Francisco 49ers want. And what I have been told is that the 49ers want, quote unquote, a king's ransom for Brandon Aiyuk. What that is, I do not know. People have said a second and a third round pick. I have been told maybe that's a little bit more than what they are looking for. I have also been told at one point, maybe they are asking for 2 first-round picks in return for Brandon Aiyuk, which is nuts. But that's where the Pittsburgh Steelers stand. On the other side of this, there is a name out there that is, quote-unquote, once again, in play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. That name is a very familiar one that I think a lot of people will see coming. It's JuJu Smith-Schuster. And we could talk about, oh, that's speculation, or everybody saying JuJu makes a lot of sense. It was explained to me that JuJu is in play for the Pittsburgh Steelers, that it is not intimate, or why can I not get that word?
Imminent.
Thank you very much. Out of my mouth. But it is on the table for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the reason that they like JuJu Smith-Schuster is because they believe he's much more reliable than his season in New England presented, that he is a veteran leader, that he fits the ground game very well as a blocker, and that he could work with guys like George Pickens and Calvin Austin and Roman Wilson to only add to a veteran group like Van Jefferson and Cordero Patterson and so on and so forth. They view him as a possibility. Again, Brandon Aiyuk is obviously option 1, but they are not willing to give up more, and they look at JuJu as a fallback option that they could say, hey, look at this guy's out here, and he's not going to cost nearly as much as Brandon Aiyuk. And yeah, he's not the player that Brandon Aiyuk is, but maybe we don't need to give up so much for a player. There are other options. JuJu Smith-Schuster is on the table for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Your thoughts when I say that?
I like the guy off the field. On the field, I just personally don't see what he adds to the group that's already here. Van Jefferson coming into camp wasn't somebody I was overly excited about. He's opened my eyes a little bit. Let's not make no mistake about what Van Jefferson is. His best season was an 800-yard season, and the rest of those seasons haven't really been up to snuff with that. But he has been impressing me to what I expected of him. But again, I don't see JuJu as a major upgrade over those guys. If anything, you're bringing him in here during camp to see if he can compete and steal that maybe wide receiver 5 spot from a Scotty Miller or from a Quez Watkins. Because I think that the other players there, 1, some of them are younger with higher upside, and 2, a guy in Van Jefferson who's been here this whole time, to me, represents the same exact thing as JuJu without the prior history in Pittsburgh.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Have you ever found yourself scrolling on social media, maybe spending too much time on whatever platform you're addicted to, and thinking, man, why am I feeling down? Why do I find myself not finding the joy that social media is supposed to give me? That's because comparison is the thief of joy, and it's easy to envy other people's lives. But therapy can help. It can help you focus on what you want instead of what other people have, so you can start living your best life. I'm somebody who's advocated for therapy for a long time. You constantly see me wearing the sweatshirt, going to therapy is cool. I've reaped the benefits for years, and I think everybody who's thinking about it should add that to their agenda as well, because in one way or another, it's very helpful. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Stop comparing and start focusing with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/allsteelers today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/allsteelers. Okay. So am I wrong to think that maybe we're a little bit harsh on JuJu after one bad year in New England? And I get the knee issues are a real thing, but they're not going to sign anybody without doing a thorough medical check where it's JuJu is ready to go. Nothing is going to change. If the knee's ready to explode, you're not going to sign him either way. If his knee's fine and we're just making a bigger deal out of this, and sometimes reports are wrong. I mean, people are in the chat right now saying my reports are wrong, so sometimes reports are wrong. Am I wrong to say that maybe we're judging JuJu a little bit too much? I mean, he's 933 yards and 3 touchdowns in Kansas City a year ago.
But again, to me, you look at that, it's Kansas City where he was the number one outside of Travis Kelce. So again, you have to weigh it between being a bad Patriots team where he performed poorly and a very good Super Bowl winning Kansas City Chiefs team with a very good quarterback. So the answer is somewhere in the middle. And to me, that just screams Van Jefferson with a team that has a new offensive coordinator and some quarterbacks who weren't awful last season. I mean, Russell Wilson wasn't awful last season. Justin had his ups and downs, but quarterbacks that do have question marks going into the season.
So are you comfortable if the Pittsburgh Steelers do not end up with Brandon Aiyuk and sign JuJu as that 5th wide receiver?
Yeah. Him battling with Scotty Miller. And if he's better, then that's great. Then he can go above people and he can jump people in the organization, because that's what the Steelers have right now. It is a bunch of people that are going to be vying for that 2 through 5 spot all season long. It doesn't end as soon as week 1 starts. Whoever's going to be better, whoever's going to give you the better matchups, whoever's going to give you the best opportunity to succeed that week is probably who's going to get the more reps and the more snaps and the more looks. And if JuJu can factor into that mix, then sure, let him come in and factor into that mix.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you tossed Quez Watkins' name out there the first time. I think we can rule out Quez Watkins. I don't think that's, you know what I mean? Like that was, we're going to talk about Justin Fields losing a job. The only person that really lost a job in Pittsburgh this weekend was definitely Quez Watkins, which was unfortunate. I thought he had some upside, but rough one. Definitely a rough one. But I agree with you. I think that if he could come in here and beat Scotty Miller, maybe beat Dez Fitzpatrick, who had a good preseason game, then you're looking at it and you're saying, okay, he could block. He's a big body. He's a reliable set of hands. That's not bad. For cheap, for almost nothing. And a guy who could come in here who understands the city, who understands Mike Tomlin, who brings some veteran leadership. I think it all works out well if that's the option that they get. Obviously, Brandon Aiyuk is still the name to watch, but that's just what I've been told, you know? And unfortunately, if I could come in here and say, hey, guys, I've actually been told that Tyreek Hill is on his way to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's the name, and then I would. But I just report the names that are given to me. And this time, the name that was given to me may not be the best name, but a familiar name for the Pittsburgh Steelers.